I'm Craig Sager, hosting alongside with Hayden Gilbert. We have a great show for you today. On Monday, we will have our recap of the Roswell Buford game, our updated Week 4 football rankings. We will be joined by James Teter, head coach at Sequoyah High School, and then we will close out the show talking about next week's big matchup and some other scores around the state. Hayden, I'm excited about today's lineup. The first thing I want to talk about, though, is just Week 4 in the books of the football season, and a word that we've heard a lot of the coaches that have come on talk about is consistency, and we're really starting to see which programs are really understanding the grind of the season and what it takes to not lose that focus, continue to find ways to improve and avoid those self-inflicted mistakes. Which teams do you think have been able to, I guess, handle the consistency, and then which ones are still searching for it?
I mean, I think one team you have to look at right now is Hughes. They just came off a huge win over Douglas County, a top 5, or at the time a top 5 6A school. They're really just week in and week out improving, playing better, getting more consistent, but still playing with that same eagerness that they started in Week 1, which is sometimes hard to continue to do after you get into the season. Lots of times you see teams start to not take practice and not take the little things as seriously as you get further into the season, especially until you kind of get punched in the mouth. And they have been punched in the mouth, but they're still out there and they're still playing great football. And right now they're still undefeated.
Yeah, I think, real quick, the team that I think has been the most consistent maybe so far is, say, North Oconee, just from Week 1 of the season. I mean, you could even put Jefferson in that category, but then some of the inconsistent teams, I think it reflected in our rankings this week. North Cobb, still way too many mistakes. Douglas County, I feel like they had a bad first half. They picked things up in the second half, but that is going to be a key word that I'm sure coaches will continue to stress, just the importance of consistency when you have this long grind of the season, and you can't really sleep on opponents. We'll talk about a big upset this past week with Denmark kind of surprising Cambridge. This is the team that went into the matchup without a win so far. Cambridge probably having one of the best starts of, in school history, and then you run into a team that's ready to get down and dirty, and they were able to get the win. But let's go ahead. We're going to get into these fast break headlines. We have 5 headlines, all of them football related, and some huge results. Starting off with headline 1, Lithonia breaks 12-game losing streak to Tucker. This is a big result on Friday. It was a 27-20 victory. Lithonia is 3-0 for the first time since 2018 and just the second time this century with a win over Tucker, who was a 15-point favorite. And not only was this a big DeKalb County rivalry game, this was a Region 5 Class 4A opener. Lithonia trying to be yet another team in Class 4A to make some noise. Tucker had won 12 consecutive games in the series dating back to 1993. Lithonia coach Kevin Barnes is 9-4 in his 2 seasons after inheriting a team that was 1-19 the previous 2 years. Tucker's a great team, Hayden. How big of a result is this for Lithonia, and how can they build off this?
I mean, this is a huge result. When you look at Lithonia, Lithonia is always really talented. They're one of those teams that always has 4 or 5 Power 4 recruits on that roster. They had Broderick Jones on that roster at one point, and I don't believe they even made the playoffs. What we're seeing now is they're finally putting that talent to good use, and they're finally winning games. This is a huge win. Tucker is one of the top teams in that region. I believe that they made the playoffs last two years and played really well in those playoffs. They were regional runner-up, I believe, 2 years ago. And they're just a really good football team. So this is a really good measuring stick. It's always good to get region play started 1-0, and now they're going to go into this region as a team that isn't afraid to lose, especially with teams like St. Pius and I believe Marist in that region.
Yeah, and definitely last year that tough region probably just sharpened their focus. But a game like this, it's not a fluke. They're really doing the right things to take a team that was 1-19, having those winless seasons, getting this big victory, 3-0 start, tons of momentum for the Bulldogs, and we'll definitely be following them, potentially putting their games in the top 30 this week. All right, headline 2, another big result. Walton gets their first win over Norcross since 2019 with a 24-21 victory. Here's a look at the winning touchdown, and we'll talk about this game in a sec. You see the pass from Christian Peacock, beautiful ball to Jordan Peacock, his younger brother, and this was on the road. This was a very interesting game. I know you and I were both tracking the score the entire time. Seemed like Norcross just had Walton kind of in the distance the entire game. They had just a small lead. Walton had a couple chances. They were actually inside the red zone 3 times and came up empty. No field goals where they would go for it, get stopped, but then to be able to punch it in late. I want to ask you specifically, though, about the play of Christian Peacock, kind of what his development's been like 4 games into the season.
I mean, it's been since we saw him week 1. He had a good week 1 against McEachern. Not amazing, first-year starting quarterback, sophomore quarterback. But I think him, and especially his chemistry with his brother as a receiver, you're seeing a lot of growth there. And it's what you expect from a really high-end talent like Christian. You go from, hey, this is a big stage. I've never played on this big of a stage. I've never played with this much speed around me on both sides of the ball, to, okay, I'm starting to figure it out. I'm starting to get timing down. I'm starting to understand the offense more and more. And we're starting to win games.
Yeah, and I think another thing that's kind of been key to Walton being able to progress so far this season is they're limiting the turnovers a little bit. And then last week, they almost had a chance to come back and beat Roswell. Roswell was the team that ended up getting the last-minute score with the field goal, but they aren't turning the ball over a lot. I feel like Christian Peacock's making better decisions, and then once they start to get some players involved, find their primary receivers like Jordan, who is having a big season so far, I feel like the offense is really going to start being able to stay on the field longer, put pressure on opposing defenses. And in this game, Walton outgained Norcross 213-77 in that first half. They still had to play from behind. So really the thing that held them back was going forward a lot on 4th down. I like the aggressive play calling, but being stopped short in the red zone, I feel like they still need to find a red zone target. But, I mean, they have some mismatches on that offense.
No, I think when you look at it, Dorian Thompson's a good running back. Peacock's a really good runner, Christian Peacock, I should say. And then I think they do need to figure out, it's interesting to have 2 really good tight ends and not have a red zone threat, but someone's got to step up in the red zone.
Yeah, certainly. I will expect that to happen very soon. All right, big win for Walton, though, and the 75th victory for Daniel Bruner with the Raiders. All right, headline 3, Denmark earns first win of the season, 30-14 victory over Cambridge. This is a game that Denmark dominated start to finish, and it looks like Cambridge was able to outgain them 422-364 in total yards, but committed 3 turnovers. Connor Langford was 21 of 33 passing for 329 yards. Craig Dandridge had 5 receptions for 117 yards and a touchdown. Grant Campbell, 7 catches, 102 yards. And then Brooks Malone, 91 yards off 15 carries. So Cambridge, this explosive offense, able to move the ball, but just the execution, good game planning by Denmark, being able to commit those turnovers. I guess a 2-part question, Hayden. How big is this for Denmark heading into their region that is a pretty even region with West Forsyth, Lambert, the Forsyth schools, and then Cambridge losing a tough game. We saw Kell lose 2 weeks ago to Sequoyah. What do you feel like is the state of both these teams?
It's interesting for Denmark. Denmark went to this offseason feeling really good about themselves. They lost a 3-star quarterback. He transferred to Connecticut to Avon Old Farm. So, there was a lot of questions going into this season for them. It looks really good to have scored 30 points on a really good football team. And defensively holding that elite Cambridge offense to 14 points is really good no matter how you do it. Turnovers, no matter what, 14 points is really good. Cambridge, this may be a blessing in disguise. They've been really dominant up to this point in the season. You can kind of let complacency set in if you're not careful. And they're going into this really tough region. And I think if they play this right, they could go into there and compete with both Kell and BT if they use this the right way.
Certainly. All right, headline 4, North Oconee earned second shutout of the season, 40-0 victory over Clark Central. Clark Central still struggling a little bit, but another dominant victory by North Oconee. I think they're outscoring opponents 167-10 at this point, or 17, a 45-point per game average margin of victory. what do you just have to say about North Laconia heading into this next big matchup against Jefferson?
They're really good. I don't see them having any problems in their region. I think they're going to continue this regular season winning streak another season. Just an absolutely dominant performance.
Yep. And then headline 5, Sprayberry is 4-0 for the first time since 1989. They got off to a great 3-0 start last year and then lost their region opener to Pope. This time, no questions. They beat Pope 49-7. Jaden Duckett, 8 of 13 passing, 189 yards and 3 touchdowns. Also rushed for 48 yards. And then Drew Keeling rushed for 81 yards and 2 touchdowns off 4 carries. Seems like this, Jordan Edmonds had 3 receptions for 69 yards and a touchdown. AJC Super 11, two-way player for Sprayberry. Do you feel like Sprayberry's a favorite to be able to win the region this year?
I mean, it's between them and Sequoyah, who we're going to talk to later on in the show. They're just putting everything together this year. They did it last year, but in this game last year, they kind of just dropped the ball and lost this game to a Pope team that they were better than. This year, they take care of business, and everything just is working out for them well. I can't wait for that Sequoyah-Sprayberry game later in the season.
Yep, that was the game that John Stutzer, the big baseball commit, went off on them, but made the adjustments and got the easy victory. So congrats to the Yellow Jackets, 4-0 for the first time since 1989. That is it for our Fast Break headlines. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back on the other side to break down our Roswell and Buford matchup. That was our game of the week last week. See you on the other side.
Nobody wants to hear the word roaches because who wants to admit they have roaches?
I actually found some weird roaches. I didn't know what they were. I decided to choose Breda. I reached out to them. They check in routinely. They're explaining what they're doing. So there's a lot of clarity in the process as well. I think that just speaks to the level of safety that I feel with the organization.
The facts are, roaches are everywhere in our environment. So what are you doing to keep them out of your home?
Breda, Breda, no need to be afraid of bugs.
For a healthier future together, look to Northside Hospital.
This makes my dad proud. He went through his whole career as an employee. Now I'm the employer, something he didn't achieve.
We are signatory to IBEW and do IBEW people wherever we go that we feel like they are faster and better than any of our competition.
The advantages of being a signatory contractor is you're trained employees. You have unlimited manpower. It allows me to bid on jobs that I ordinarily would not go after.
Man, you know how to do this? Man, I don't even know. I was flipping burgers last week.
Violation, unsportsmanlike conduct, impersonating a craftsman.
Skilled trade unions are well-trained career pros, not part-timers. Construction is a rewarding and lucrative career with the advancement potential, but you have to do it the right way with the right training. Learn how you can be a pro. Find your career at GeorgiaConstructionCareers.com.
You may know Tidal Wave Auto Spa as the world's greatest car wash, but did you know Tidal Wave also has the easiest fundraiser? So easy, our mascots think they can do anything, like making the big play on the big stage. Okay, maybe just a dream, but it is a super easy fundraiser. Just sell wash tickets and watch the money come in. If your team, school, church, or group needs funds, go to TidalWaveAutospa.com and get started today.
Georgia High School Sports Daily is brought to you by the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, Local 613. Electrify your career. And by Breda Pest Management. They handle bugs and critters.
Welcome back to the Georgia High School Sports Daily, powered by IBEW Local 613. We're at the Breda Pest Management Sports Desk, and we will recap Buford's big win over Roswell this last week. Hayden, this game was delayed a bunch. I thought Buford handled it very well. Roswell tried to make it interesting there in the second quarter. Buford answered right before the half and then really dominated. Buford doesn't typically score 65 points, but this is a very explosive team What makes this Buford team maybe different than some of the previous years?
I think when you look at this Buford team, they have a lot more talent, really at wide receiver. When you look at Seven Rashad, even Tyreek Green is a guy that can be a threat all over the field, running back, wide receiver, DB. It's just, I think that they are, like this Seven Rashad touchdown, there's so much more, I think, just explosive out wide than they've been in years past. I think when you put all that together, you had a really good quarterback in Dayton Raiola. It's just the perfect combination of a group of players that are going to play better in an explosive offense and a coaching staff that's willing to allow them to do it finally.
Yeah, and that was a great catch right there by Seven Rashad. That put Buford up 7-0. I was impressed by the way Dayton was able to throw the deep ball with the timing with his receivers. He had a very efficient game passing the ball, 15 of 23, 209 yards, but 4 touchdowns, I believe, to 4 different receivers. So that put Buford up 7-0. And then let's talk about the Tyreek Green show we witnessed, starting with this pick 6 to put Buford up 14-0. You see him right there jumping the route. And then once he gets that interception, he's so explosive in the open field, so elite. And that was a big statement right there. Then this is a 21-0 lead. This is Jameer Cantrell getting the run game involved. Great blocking up front. And another look at it. Great moves, good downfield blocking. All in the first quarter right here. And then this is the Dylan McCoy touchdown reception from Dayton Raiola. This put Buford up 28-0 early in the second quarter. So we'll look at this highlight real quick and then talk about Roswell being able to bring it within 1 score later in this second quarter. And this is a great effort after the catch. See him break tons of tackles. Big play right there. So here is Roswell beginning that comeback. Trey Smith to Chase Schaefer. Beautiful deep ball right here. Can't locate the pass any better than that. Just had a slight step on him and drops it right in there. And then Trey Smith with the rushing touchdown right here. And Hayden, you were talking about he's not necessarily known too much as a runner.
Trey is a good runner, but when you look at him, he's not going to be the guy that's going to – it's not the main part of his game like you see a bunch of quarterbacks able to do, especially for his size. But when he runs, he's a really good runner. He's very similar in that category to like a Kareem Hughley, where it's like you don't know him for being able to be a runner, but he is a really good runner.
Yeah, and then credit to Roswell because, yeah, the Dayton Raiola touchdown pass – that was just a beautiful ball. But then when you have a pick 6, that can really make the game get out of hand. Roswell was able to come back. We saw the Trey Smith touchdown pass, the rushing touchdown. He later threw one to Wills Campbell with 1 minute and 30 seconds left in the half. And then Buford was able to get a big return. Roswell had been kicking it pretty much in the end zone on all the kickoffs. They ended up allowing a return. Was that Tyreek Green on the return, I think?
I think it may have been.
Yeah, that he brought him down to about midfield, and then this is the touchdown right before the half. This really was where the game began to go completely in Buford's favor. You see right there, just too many potential targets. Great decision by Dayton, finding the open receiver. That made it 35-21 at the half. We had another long break, and that was with just 10 seconds left, and then Tyreek Green, we got 2 more exceptional highlights right here. So here is the rushing touchdown, 23 yards. This put Buford up 44-21. And they did go for 2 right before the half, actually. So it was 36-21. And then here is the punt return. Let's take a couple looks at this one. So you see, you can't really tell he's going to be able to return it. Players just standing around, never signaled the fair catch, and then just so much speed. No blocks in the back, just able to blow the game wide open right there.
I think if you're Roswell, you have to feel pretty good about how you played, but just small mistakes. One, throughout this game, they really struggled to tackle in space. They need to wrap up more, and I think as a coaching staff, that's something you have to work on this week. And then just mental mistakes like that. You have to, as the punt team, you have to understand that he didn't call fair catch. He's fair game. He's not planning on just sitting there waiting for you to take it to the sideline. He's there to return it. If he doesn't fair catch, you need to tackle him right there.
Yeah, and that's a play. I mean, Buford probably wanted to handle that differently. You don't want guys standing around there that could have bounced off someone. Roswell could have regained possession. But just a heads-up play from Tyree Green and able to make the most out of it. That was his third touchdown of the game. And then we have one more touchdown that was pretty much just a minute and a half after that. Dayton Rayola to Torin Costin, a big touchdown reception. You see the arm strength from Rayola. Beautiful ball. That might have been his best pass of the game.
Yeah, that's a beautiful ball. It's right where it needs to be. It's behind both safeties. Just everything about this pass is exactly what you want from your quarterback. Keep it out of danger. If you're going to miss deep, and just give an easy catch to your wide receiver.
Yep, and you see the speed of Buford's receivers being able to get behind the safety. I feel like on that play, you don't really expect the quarterback to heave it 50-plus yards over your head. So, not every quarterback in high school is going to be able to throw the deep ball like that, but you've got to be aware of that, especially if you're trying to play at the next level. In terms of Buford, people will still have Grayson ranked number 1. They look outstanding. They've continued to find ways to get it done with the injuries, without Travis Burgess, a big win over Mallard Creek. But realistically, if you're Buford right now, how good do you feel about your chances in 6A?
I think you have to feel that you are as good a team as any team in the state. Right now, for me, it's Carrollton, Buford, Grayson. Those are your top 3 teams. All 3 are really, really talented. Without Travis Burgess, I think Grayson still has some questions. But if you're Buford, you have to feel like you're one of, if not the favorite to win the state title at this point.
And then we've seen Buford this season do a really good job in the second half. They have tremendous depth all over this roster. But in terms of a second half team, how huge is that going to be for the Wolves?
I think it's going to be really good as long as they can kind of avoid that. We're going to be a second half team. We're going to struggle in the first half and we're going to get behind. If they can make sure they stay in games into the third quarter and keep that game within no more than 1 or 2 touchdowns, I think they'd be a really tough team to beat.
And then in terms of Roswell, what can they take away from this matchup? Being able to have some sparks, but maybe some lapses they had throughout the game, the big plays they allowed. Overall, how would you kind of grade this game?
I think if you're Roswell, as I said earlier, you have to sit there. You have to beat yourself a little bit because you were right there. You were very close to being in a really close game late into it with a Buford team that is really far more talented than you. I think you look at it as, hey, we're a few missed tackles away from getting the ball back multiple times with chances to tie or maybe even take the lead if we put them all together. We're a special teams mistake away from taking another touchdown off the board. You have to feel if you can fix those mistakes, you're a team that can compete with the Gainesvilles and Miltons in your region and possibly compete for a state title.
And then real quick, just what were your thoughts about Buford's stadium, being able to see it on TV this last week? And yeah, some of the fans had to leave because of the weather and come back, but overall, what did you just think of the environment?
It's beautiful. Everyone that was there said it was an amazing experience. I think they've taken the level of high school football stadiums in the state of Georgia to a next level, and I wouldn't be surprised if, maybe not to that level, but if they raise the bar of what you have to do to have a high school stadium in the state.
Yep, and what I said on the broadcast, if you're going to have a weather delay, that's probably the best place to have it because you got indoor facilities, and that's, I think, why the teams were able to come back out and just hit the ground running. But that is it. Buford, big win, 65-21 over Roswell, but a very exciting game, and we're glad they were able to stick it out and deal with all those delays. We've got a big one coming up this week, North Oconee and Jefferson, but we will be back on the other side to break down our Week 4 football rankings. You won't want to miss it. Welcome back to the Georgia High School Sports Daily. We're at the Breda Pest Management Sports Desk. It's time to break down our Week 4 rankings for football and track the latest movements. We're going to start in Class 6A. Number 1, Grayson had a big win over Mallard Creek. In this game, Deuce Smith stepping in at quarterback for Travis Burgess, 19 of 25 passing, 244 yards and 3 touchdowns. Grayson, to me, still looks like the number 1 team. Buford holding on to number 2 after the big win over Roswell. The only changes, See at number 9 and number 10, Hillgrove and Camden County make their debuts in place of North Cobb and Newton. Newton lost a game to a team out of Arkansas, and then North Cobb got beat by Cass. Tons of turnovers in that matchup, and to me, I really like the consistency of Hillgrove so far. They made a great run in the playoffs last year. Looks like they've picked up right where they left off. And then Camden County, I've been really impressed with their quarterback play, their undefeated start, and I wanted to switch this up a little bit, but those are the only 2 changes in Class 6A at number 9 and number 10. Let's go ahead and go straight to 5A. Hayden, go ahead and break it down.
So in 5A, Thomas County Central, after a huge win over rival Thomasville, stays at number 1. Hughes had a big win over Douglas County. I think they closed that gap to Thomas County Central, but they weren't able. They're not going to be able to take number 1 right now for me. The only changes was I flipped Newnan and Roswell. Newnan's had a great start to the season. Their offense is playing really well, and Roswell just had a loss to Buford. I'm not going to punish them too much for that, but a loss is a loss.
Yeah, I thought Houston County looked more impressive this past week against Warner Robins. What do you think about Lee County, though? They beat Hayville Charter. They were so dominant last year, replaced a lot. I mean, do you feel like they still have room to grow? I mean,
I think the biggest question for me was offensively. They just played a really good game against Tift County. I don't know exactly what Tift County is. I think that they're a really improved team this year. I think that that's a team that's kind of under the radar, and they were able to go in there, get a win, put up 40-something points on them. I think Lee County's answered a lot of those questions.
Yeah, at Tift County, it's going to be tough for them to make the playoffs, but you're right. In Region 1, they've looked a ton better this season. All right, Class 4A, things are getting pretty interesting in 4A. North Oconee still at number 1, the defending champs, 40-0 win over Clark Central. Creekside looks good. BT was off this past week, but they've been outstanding. You look at some of the opponents they've already beaten, who've done very well, including Holy Innocents. Cartersville survived a very close game against Calhoun. They ended up winning, so they stick right there where County moved up to number 5. Central Carroll moved up 1 spot to number 8, and then Cambridge fell all the way from number 5 down to number 9 after their loss this past week to Denmark, and then Kell is still at number 10 after their loss earlier this season. So the only movement here, you saw Cambridge move down after the loss, but still a team that I feel like is deserving in the top 10. Let's go to Class 3A, and you have a new number 1.
Yeah, so Peach County replaced Calhoun. You can't punish Calhoun too much for a loss to Cartersville. If I didn't think Peach County was really, really good, I wouldn't have punished them at all and dropped them 1 spot. But I think Peach County and Calhoun were 1A and 1B for me. So just that perfect record for Peach County keeps them ahead of Calhoun, puts them ahead of Calhoun right now. Outside of that, the only other change was North Hall. I dropped 1 spot. It took a lot for them to be an East Hall team. Now that East Hall offense is really good. Jamarcus Harrison's a Kennesaw State commit for a reason. But having to win on a Hail Mary. Now, a Hail Mary at 2 a.m. because it's a weird game with all kinds of delays. A Hail Mary is a Hail Mary. For me, that's no different than a loss, and I would probably drop them that 1 spot if they had lost. So I dropped them behind LaGrange.
And then LaGrange, they had a rough outing against Sandy Creek 2 weeks ago, but it looks like they've kind of found their footing again and looked much improved.
Yeah, Sandy Creek's a really good team for me. They very well may be able to win this state title. I don't think that loss for me for LaGrange is that big of a deal.
Yep. All right, let's go to Class 2A. We still have Carver, Columbus at number 1. Morgan County looked good again. I had to move Carver, Atlanta up a spot. They've just been dominant. Their defense looks outstanding this year. Offense is putting up tons of points. This team is more mature. They're more experienced this year. I think they are a dark horse to make a really deep run in the playoffs. Rockmart had a overtime win against Ringgold. I did not move them down. And then a big result, Callaway dominated the matchup against Cook defensively. Cook has had a great season, though. Had a big win over Brooks County, so I didn't move them down too much, just 1 spot. And then you got Thompson, suffered a loss. They moved down to number 9 this week in Burke County. I still feel like those teams, despite some bad losses the last couple weeks, are still contenders in Class 2A. But the big change for me, Carver, Atlanta making a move up, and then Callaway able to get that first win of the season over Cook. All right, let's go to Class A Division I. You see a lot of changes in this one.
Yeah, so Thomasville, after that loss to Thomas County Central, they fell a few spots. Once again, not really because of anything they did. is because those top three are really close. They all play in the same region, so we're going to get to find out who is the best team in that region, and those rankings will work themselves out throughout the rest of the year. Then the other team that dropped was Toombs County. They fell behind both Raven and Dublin. They lost to Rome, but really it was that 40 seconds that really concerns me about Toombs County, giving up 4 touchdowns in 48 seconds. I get it's somewhat of a fluke, but that has to concern you a little bit. I want to see more out of Toombs County moving forward for me to have them higher in these rankings.
Yeah, and your rankings are going to really pan out in 2 weeks. So Worth County at number 1 is going to be off this week, and then they will host Fitzgerald on September 19th. So you will have a 1 versus 2. How excited are you for that matchup, and maybe what do you expect?
That's a great matchup. It's going to be very interesting. Fitzgerald's more of a defensively minded team that is more of a ground-based offense, while Worth County is very much they have a good defense, but they're really a high-powered offense with one of the best quarterbacks in the classification. It's going to be really interesting to see how those two contrasting styles face off with each other.
Yep, and Jordan put a nice story up last week in the Class A Division I blog on Worth County. They had not given up a single touchdown heading into the Brooks County game. Brooks County was actually favored in that matchup. They dominated, though, 44-25. They were up 31-7 in the second half. So defense, again, for Worth County is really much improved this year, and the offense is still there. What do you think about Toombs County, though? Just what you've seen from them and maybe the wild result they had against Rome.
I mean, they're still a really good football team. I really feel that any of these teams can win the state title. Toombs just has to. They can't have moments like that if they want to win a state title, and they just have to show that that's not going to happen again.
Yep, and we'll talk about that matchup more in segment 5. All right, real quick, Class A Division II. Talk a little bit about the changes. Looks like Brooks County dropped out. They're still searching to get back into form.
Brooks County is really struggling at this point in the season. Really shocking. I think they need to just do some soul searching, figure out what's wrong right now. I still think they can be a great team that can make a run at a state title. They just have to prove it. Mitchell County also dropped out. They were replaced by Screven County and Wilcox County.
Yep, and then real quick, Class A through 3A private. We still have Prince Avenue at number 1, Hebron at number 2. I moved Fellowship up to number 3. I know they've had a bad loss to Hebron this season, but Savannah Christian just lost their first game. That was to Oceanside Collegiate. I think that was their first regular season loss in quite some time, but an out-of-state opponent, so it didn't drop them too much. And then you had Aquinas move up 1 spot to number 7, and then North Cobb Christian dropped 2 spots to number 10 after their first loss of the season. But you can go to scoreatl.com. We've got those rankings posted up there right now with the breakdown, and you can track the movement right there. But we will be back on the other side. We've got a great guest, Sequoiah's head coach, James Teter, to talk about the Chiefs' incredible start to the season. We'll see you on the other side.
Customer service is everything in our industry, and one thing our clients love is when they call Breda, they get a live representative. At Breda, you get the attention you need and deserve right when you call in. Your appointment gets scheduled right then and there, and you get a specific time, no window of arrival. Our staff are your neighbors. They know what's going on in your community, and they're invested in doing it better.
Breda, Breda, no need to be afraid of bugs.
Dang, where you get this car?
You need to join the union.
The union?
Absolutely. You can get 10 of these.
Union construction workers earn the highest wages with the best benefits and the most protection in the construction industry. Find your career in construction. Go to GeorgiaConstructionCareers.com and start your future today.
A journeyman with Local 85, when you turn out, you can be hitting 6 figures.
Hey, I have your back, you have my back. We're gonna do this together. We're one for all for one.
College just wasn't for me. Let's look into actual career jobs that wouldn't take college, where I wouldn't, lose money and all that. Instead of losing a lot more money at the end, why not make money and make more money at the end?
You may know Tidal Wave Auto Spa as the world's greatest car wash, but did you know Tidal Wave also has the easiest fundraiser? So easy, our mascots think they can do anything, like making the big play on the big stage. Okay, maybe just a dream, but it is a super easy fundraiser. Just sell watch tickets and watch the money come in. If your team, school, church, or group needs funds, go to TidalWaveAutoSpa.com and get started today.
What happens after you graduate? Will you go to the next level? Will people have your back in the heat of battle? Will you still train like a champion in the pursuit of greatness? You will when you become an IBEW electrical worker. Join our team. Visit IBEW613.org.
Welcome back to the Georgia High School Sports Daily. Right now, we will be joined by Sequoyah head football coach James Teter. Coach, how's it going?
Going great. Thanks for having me.
You bet. So, just want to ask you, what's the biggest thing you've noticed about this year's team with the experience, what you've been able to see so far with this 4-0 start?
Just the leadership of our seniors. Our seniors have, they've had a lot of experience playing since they've been here as freshmen. A lot of these guys started as freshmen. So just that experience level that they have and the leadership they show has been really good for the young kids and helping us get where we're at right now.
And then what have you emphasized early on in this season as you guys get ready to go into the region and try to accomplish that goal of winning the region title?
Just not to look too far ahead. They've had a lot of success as a class. Went to the first round as ninth graders, second round, then the third round. Just don't look too far ahead and just understand that we got to still concentrate on one game at a time. It's a tough region, and we just can't look too far ahead and let somebody slip up and knock us off.
And then I want to go back to the Kell game a little bit. That was a big result for you guys. You guys really dominated that matchup. What did that mean just for the focus of the team moving forward?
Oh, it was huge. I mean, they're really well coached. It's a great team full of athletes. And for us to be able to play the way we did and play a whole complete game, offense, defense, and special teams meant a lot. I mean, it was huge for our program, huge for the team, and gave us a lot of confidence going into what we're getting ready to go down through in the region.
Coach, I just want to ask you about this offensive line. It's not glamorous. I think Will Rejecki and your quarterback get a lot of the focus of this team, but y'all have a really good offensive line. Just talk to me about their leadership of this team.
Yeah, they're an experienced bunch. Alex Brewer, who's going to Colorado State. You got Brody Craig at the other tackle, who's being recruited really heavily. The three inside guys you probably don't hear a lot. Riley O'Neal, Charlie Miller, Colton Bass, and then you throw in Jacob Sheen. You probably don't hear a lot about those guys. But they just work really well together, and it's a group that's worked together for 4 years. Those kids have rotated in and out since they've been freshmen. You throw in our tight end, Maddox Waller, who's going to Sanford, and it's just a group that gets along really well, works hard, and just understands what we want to do with our system. And that, we're a run team, and they just enjoy doing that.
Then, Coach, talk to me about this culture that you've built there, where it is a very much hard-nosed football team. We're going to come in, we're going to kind of impose our will on a lot of teams.
Well, I think that comes a little bit from our background in the past of being a wing T team that ran the ball constantly. We're now spread it out a little bit, and we're in the gun quite a bit, but we still have a wing T philosophy as far as running the ball, and I think our kids buy into that really well. Colby, our quarterback, has done a great job in being able to mix in the pass and do some things to keep people honest. But it's just our mentality of we come to work every day and we're going to pound the ball and see what happens. And I think our kids just really buy into that.
And then, Coach, I think an underrated part of this team so far this season is the defense. Y'all were a good defensive team last year, but I think the improvements y'all have seen have been really impressive. Just talk to me about that.
Yeah, our defense has grown probably since the second half of the Denmark game. The first half they struggled. We lost 6 or 7 starters from last year, so we knew it was going to take a little bit of time. So we worked hard all summer trying to put pieces together to put the right people in place. And since the second half of that Denmark, the first game of the season, they've kind of come into their own and they've grown and done really well. They're led by our middle linebacker, Drew Williams, who has kind of taken over for Taiwo Gundole from last year. And then the front has still got Matthew Matz and some of the kids up there, Gayson Gant and some of those guys who played a little bit last year. but they've just improved and done really well, and listened to Coach Buddy and what his system is, and done a great job up front.
And then, Coach, talk about just being able to see this senior class kind of progress through the Sequoyah program and what has made them special.
Their work ethic is what's made them special. And again, it's a group that's played together since they were in Little League, CYFA, and they've just stuck together and they've worked together and they understand each other and just get along so well with each other that I think that has really what's paid off. They don't seem to be selfish with anything. They don't care about who gets the credit. They just want to win, and that's helped a ton. And it's been great seeing them grow through the years, and it's been great seeing some of the ones who probably weren't getting all the attention early as a freshman continue to work and then now earn their chance to play and shine. But it's just been a special group from the day they walked in the building.
Then, Coach, I got to ask you about Will Rajecki. Just his start to the season, his career so far, it's just been incredible what he's able to do. His understanding of the offense, his talent, the consistency. What's just impressed you so far this year?
Will's work ethic. Will comes to work every day. I mean, he's an impressive young man just outside of football. But at practice every day, I mean, you're not going to see a kid that practices any harder than what he does. Every run he has in practice, he finishes in the end zone. Doesn't matter where we're at on the field. He helps all the young kids learn their stuff. I mean, he's just a good all-around young man who's got a bright future in front of him. I just hope that, he continues to do the things he's been doing because, like I said, he's got a bright future in front of him.
And then Maddox Waller, he's a tight end. You mentioned he's committed to Sanford. What has he been able to bring to the offense just in terms of your looks and just how he's able to contribute in a lot of different ways?
He's allowed us to do some things. He's allowed to help us set the edge. He's grown a lot in his receiving and being able to catch the ball and get in open spaces for Colby to hit him. But really, it's his blocking that's kind of done us a world of good. We've got the two big tackles, but now you add him on the edge, and it really helps set the edge for us. And then he's just a really good leader for our young kids.
And then what are some of the things you're looking for just heading into the region you guys still have been talking about wanting to improve upon?
We've got a lot of things we need to improve. There's still some things, special teams, I think we need to get better at. There's still some things defensively I think we need to get better at, just locking down some things. And then offensively, we just got to be able to maintain some more as far as our drives and being able to finish things. We set that first game and struggled a little bit against Denmark, and some of that was just due to, I think, listening to people pat us on the back all year. But I think they've kind of listened to us when we talked to them about that, and have gotten better with it. But I think no matter what we do, there's always going to be some room for improvement, and we just got to make sure each week we work on it.
And then, Coach, just one last question from me. I want you just to talk about this community in a world where it really feels like kids don't care about where they're from or what school they go to. It feels like that Sequoyah has a bunch of kids that really want to be there.
Oh, I agree with you 100%. I mean, it's a great community. This community has been really good to us for, the 17 years I've been here. They've supported us really well. They've backed us in everything we've asked them to help us with. And then it's a group that, we've got 130, 140 kids in our middle school program, which here the high schools run the middle school programs. And then in our CYFA, we have another 300 kids. So all these kids grow up wanting to be a Chief, and it's really, really special, and it's a special place to be.
Then, Coach, real quick, talk about the secondary. That was one of the areas you guys did have to replace some of the experience. How is the secondary shaped up so far?
It's getting better. I mean, that's probably the one area we're still piecing things together. We had a young man move in, Asa Goings, who's now playing safety for us, who's done a really good job. Carson Berry, who started some last year, is the other safety. Benji Smith's the returning corner we had. And then we've got a host of people. We played Brooks Darling, Jay Marshall, and then Ethan Bispham at the other corner, just based on what the opponents give us to who we use.
All right, well, Coach, that's all the time we have. We really appreciate your time and joining us talking about the Chiefs. Best of luck this season. We look forward to it.
Thank you very much for having me. Go Chiefs.
All right, go Chiefs. There you go. Coach Teter and Sequoyah undefeated and a major contender in 5A. Don't go anywhere. We got one more segment. We'll break down some of the big results from this past week. Welcome back to the Georgia High School Sports Daily. It's our final segment. We're going to break down the big results from this past week. We've got some scores to flash up. Let's go ahead and get started. All right, so you see right there, nationally ranked matchup, Grayson and Mallard Creek, a dominant performance by the Rams. That was Deuce Smith stepping in at quarterback, having a pretty great outing. Jonathan Stafford, a player we've seen at Archer that's transferred over to Grayson, looks like he's a leading receiver for them, very dangerous. The Cass win over North Cobb, big result for Coach Gates and Brody McCorder. Stevenson, a big win over Decatur, and Thomas County Central. I want to ask you about the quarterback battle in North Cobb and Cass, and then you can take it away from there.
I mean, it's one of the best quarterback battles that we had on Friday night. One of the best we'll probably see all season. You're looking at the top quarterback in 2027. You're looking at the top quarterback in the class of 2026 in the state. And they're sitting there battling it out. It's interesting to see that Cass won because last year this is the game that Brody McWhorter got hurt in. This is the game that Cass really struggled in even before he got injured. And then they go in there against a team that I think going into the season we felt had taken a step forward talent-wise and get the win, which is just huge for Cass and huge for their season moving forward.
Yeah, and Cass has had big wins, but usually they're like playoff upsets. They aren't in the regular season. So, I mean, this was a big result. I think people at the game said that Teddy Gerard played well, but it's still the inconsistent play from North Cobb, some of the turnovers, penalties. They're still trying to get things going, but should be a wake-up call for them. Let's go to the next slide of scores. All right, the Rome win over Toombs County. Creekview and Laster, just a region opener. Creekview was 0-3. Laster was 3-0. Creekview got a much-needed win to get their season going. North Oconee dominating Clark Central, and then Houston County, big win over Warner Robins, who's struggling mightily. Talk about just the Rome game, how big of a result this was for them to finally be able to close out a game.
It's huge for Rome. Last year they start out, they lost this game. This year they go into this game with not having won a game so far this season yet again. And then they come in here. It was a really close game. They were losing until that 40-second mark in the beginning of the third quarter where they scored 4 touchdowns. I think it's a great win for Rome. I still think they need to work on some consistency throughout games, but it's of course the biggest win of their season, but a win that could turn their season around.
Right, and they did not want to fall to Toombs County 2 years in a row. Rome will have a big matchup this Friday against East Paulding, who I feel like is a very talented team, but they're also still sorting some things out. Let's go to the next slide. Here we go. All right, you have Ola beating Jones County for the second straight year. This was a very close game. Ola and Jones County, 2 more outstanding teams in 4A, and that was a big region game also. You see Lovett, they've won, I think, 3 straight since their season opening loss to Westminster. They're on a roll. The Raven County Dalton game was a shootout start to finish, and then GAC, a big win over Westminster.
Yeah, I think when you look at these games, when you look at Dalton especially, if Dalton can figure out how to play defense, they're going to be really hard to beat. I mean, they're scoring 40-something points a game. They're putting points up on everyone. Just really exciting. And then what does Pace Academy have to do to figure out how to play offense? I mean, it's Coach Weatherspoon's first year. This isn't truly his team, but gosh, they have struggled for a long time on the offensive side of the ball.
Certainly, and then yeah, another game where they failed to put up points. This is a team that I think averaged maybe like 11 points per game last season. Just have not been able to get into that 20-point threshold to give them a chance to win. Lovett is a great defense, though. It looks like they have made strides. And then Dalton, they're going to have to host Cartersville this week. So that's going to be another tough matchup for the Catamounts. All right, let's go to the next slide. You have Peach County, your new number 1 in 3A, getting the win over a great Crisp County team. LaGrange bouncing back against Sandy Creek with their win over Trinity Christian. Douglas, I feel like they are performing very well considering they had to replace pretty much their entire starting offense, a lot in their secondary. It's a big win over Columbia. And then Callaway getting their first win of the season over Cook.
Yeah, I think when you look at the most shocking, for me at least, was Douglas's win over Columbia. Columbia's won 2 straight region titles. They're a really good football team. And to shut out Columbia, I don't think the results, the shocking part, is just the 19-0 with a Douglas team that we kind of thought was rebuilding going into the season. And then Callaway's dominant win over Cook. Cook hadn't given up 150 yards defensively all season. And Callaway just kind of blew that out of the water and is playing really good. And looks like they're a really good football team, even after starting 0-3.
Yep, and then, man, Douglas Coach Pritchett was talking about how important it was for them to just stick together during this early part of the season. He felt like if you're going to beat us, you're going to want to do it early in the season because they will be able to improve, and that's a result that really is going to make them feel well. All right, let's go to the next side of scores. You got the overtime game. Rockmart defeated Ringgold. That was a really close call. Ace Charter, a huge win over Dodge County in their region. That was a region where 6 teams actually made it to the playoffs last year, but being able to get home field will be huge in that Class A Division I. Saw Savannah Christian fall into Oceanside Collegiate out of Florida, and then Worth County's big win over Brooks County. And we talked about that win, Worth County's defense being outstanding, and then Brooks County still searching for answers. Let's go to one more slide before we close out the show. You see Hughes, big winners over Douglas County, jumped out to a really early lead. Collins Hill is cruising. They held a Parkview team that put up like 60 points against West Forsyth to just 8. The Walton win over Norcross, and then Kell beating a Wheeler team that just beat North Atlanta last week.
Yeah, I think just with all these, we're starting to see teams that are inconsistent and consistent, and the consistent teams are starting to kind of push forward and differentiate themselves from those inconsistent teams and really kind of start to show themselves as the state title contenders.
Yeah, and Collins Hill is starting to look very strong. All right, but that is all the time we have. We will be back right here tomorrow at noon. You go to scorytail.com for more coverage. We'll see you then.